let common sense prevail. I just don't know.
Yeah, well, it seems to be a hot button issue with the cultural left and the Democratic Party. They see it as an issue, and frankly, some Republicans, and Ann Meyer talked about that last time she was on the air with me. It seemed she seemed to feel it was discriminatory, and let me tell you, Jim, it is discriminatory against young girls who have to compete against biological males. That makes no sense. Again, transgender people.
I don't know where the science is to say there's no difference between a male that says he's a female and competing in a wrestling tournament. I don't get that, but I'm sure there's science on both sides to justify why they think they're right. I think there's a lot more to be learned about it, frankly, from my standpoint.
I don't know what else we need to learn from this, Jim. Frankly, that's my position, and I think it's going to be a position with many, many people in the future. I mean, big tax cuts to big companies doesn't always help the average working person in Iowa. But it's been fine with us, as Representative Sexton said to me one time, we're giving you your guns. Well, fine, but I thought the Second Amendment did that. The point being is that we expect something for our vote, some small thing. If you want to keep the right to work out of here, fine. If you want to tell us that you're going to cut taxes to stimulate the economy, fine. Don't tell me, on the other hand, that I'm some sort of, I don't know what to call it. Don't tell me I'm prejudiced because I don't want a transgender athlete wrestling my 7-year-old granddaughter.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're being, offensive there. But again, I don't know enough, Mike, about those issues. And I know that on the teaching of government and constitution, I know that's a very strongly debated issue. And I think the problem is where there's always going to be an extreme that professor here and there at the University of Iowa.
We lost Jim. Gosh, we were just getting warmed up too. A person would have to be an intellectual to believe some of these things. No, Jim, I'm going to quote, I think it's Walt Whitman. When it comes to something like transgender athletes in female sports, I think Walt Whitman said a man would have to be an intellectual to believe such things. No ordinary man would be such a fool. Well, I guess I'm an ordinary man because I don't believe that nonsense at all. I just don't. And if Governor Reynolds, I don't know what's on her head. I'm sure she's getting pressure, especially from the teaching history thing, from some. Mm-hmm. But that also looks to me like we need to teach fact and not guilt. But I'm particularly upset about the inability of the Republican Party to move in protecting young girls. That's ridiculous. They have another session that they can move those bills. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion over the summer and fall before they get together back in January. So you'll have time to visit with all your legislators, and we all will. Yes, we all will.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can go online and Google the issue, and there'll be a lot of information on both sides that people can really get a feel for it. Maybe you should have both sides on sometime and just have a good discussion.
I'd be more than willing to do that, but liberals don't appear on my program, Jim, because it gives me credibility.
Right. Right. So, no, I'm sorry I was taking that seriously. But anyway,
I know that.
I think, these are all emotional issues. And, what I'm hearing from people, and I don't know what these other elected members are hearing, but, these are important issues, but we also, really need to get our economy back on track and get people, and focus on those things and not all these other, other issues. But they're strongly debated, and I'll continue to watch it.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work on it. I'm keeping a very careful eye on it, and it doesn't really look good for the ordinary person out here because, again, the intellectuals are believing in nonsense, and that's what it is, nonsense. And me and my friends, we're not fools. We can see exactly what's happening with our own eyes. We're not going to say, oh, yeah, don't believe your lying eyes. Believe me over here. Yeah, that's just anyway. So I've chewed Jim's ear enough on that. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. But you know what's happening inside the Republican Party, and I realize you don't always tell me, and that's fine. But you can convey that message that there are going to be conversations around the state about the failure of the Republicans to do anything about this. Anyway, or you can, Jim, you can do whatever you want.
No, I know that. So what did Senator Grassley say? Because I do have to get in touch with him. I think I told you last week or a week or so ago that there's a new book called The Tuesday Night Massacre.
I mentioned it to him, yes, because you had mentioned it to me like the day before. And I bought the Kindle version. I haven't had a chance to start it yet. I bought it, and I brought that up to him. I said, Jim Kersten recommended this book. I have it. I'm going to start reading it. And he went on about how he knew the Kersten family, that sort of thing. And I brought the thesis of the book, it looks like, to me, anyway, having just read about it a little bit online, is that the country changed with the election of Ronald Reagan, certainly in 1980, but especially for senators. And Chuck
Grassley. The style of elections became much more aggressive and outlining the differences. You know, they didn't distort the truth, but they were very, very tough on, for example, Senator Culver.
Yes.
You know, I think he voted to, if I can't remember correctly, but maybe he voted to sell the Panama Canal. And at that time, that was a very hotly contested issue. And I think Senator Grassley's, advisors use those types of issues to really gain support for Senator Grassley. And well, he's been there ever since.
Yeah. And Senator Grassley, that man, 87 years old? I Googled him. He's 87 years old. And he immediately went back to 1980 and gave me really a pretty, a play-by-play of what was happening at the time, before and after.
Yeah,
that guy's amazing.
He's amazing. Yeah, he has. And he and Terry Branstad have a memory that, you could never challenge, because they remember names and details. I remember traveling with Governor Branstad, and we'd land at an airport in, say, Manchester, Iowa, and there'd be 5 people waiting for us to get off the plane, and he'd get off and know every one of their names without us telling him. The mayor's going to be here. We didn't know who was going to be there, but he remembered their names, and he did that all across the state his whole career, and he still remembers them.
Wow, that's really something. That's a great talent.
Yeah,
that's a great gift.
It is, and it made people feel that actually he truly did listen to them and remembered, because a lot of these people feel they get glad-handed and patted on the back and then forgotten about.
That's old Dale Carnegie training, and I don't know if Governor Branstad or Senator Grassley did that, but my dad was a salesman, and he used to tell me things from the Dale Carnegie course, and he used to say, now, the most important word that anybody will ever hear is their own first name, because they love to hear their own first name. Yeah. And I found that true. Now, if you can remember their first name, and Grassley and Branstad can, Grassley, I walked up to him when he was in town a couple of years ago. He remembered my first name, and I'm just some radio guy in Fort Dodge. You were on Fox News last night and CBS the night before, and I was just astounded.
Yeah, he's amazing and has not forgot his roots, and that's why he's been so successful, among other things, include doing a great job.
Oh, he's been my favorite senator from Iowa. I really think so. He's a real common sense, down to earth farmer from Iowa who's very gifted intellectually and emotionally, and he's very accessible to media all the time. I mean, I was at the WHO building at the state fair, and he interviewed he interviewed with them, and then he walked right over to me and said, you need a couple of comments. Which I love it. Really nice, really nice. Yeah. Again, I work at 1,000-watt AM radio station.
Yeah, but still, you've got a good listener base, and you have a diverse audience. So I think it's good. He likes to see all the different venues he can be on to share his information.
Yeah, and God bless him. Do you think he'll run for re-election?
I have no inside scoop, but I think he will, as long as his health's in good shape. And I think he'll hopefully complete it, but you never know. He might run and then something happened and he may have to resign. But at this point, I would guess, just guessing, I have no insight, that he likely will run.
Well, he'd be in his 90s by the time this next term ended. He'd be well into his 90s, I'm sure. I don't know when he runs for re-election again.
Right.
Do you know when he runs for re-election again?
It's in 2 years, or a year. Yeah, next 92, I believe. Or 2002. 2022.
Yeah.
2022.
We started
yeah.
We started reminiscing there a little bit, and
so he'll make his decision this fall, I've been told. So we'll know this fall, and I bet you'll be one of the first stations he goes on if you want him on.
God, I would.
If he runs.
Yeah, if he runs. What else is going on, James?
Not much. Just winding down the last spring of the school year at Iowa Central, and now we're getting ready to start working on our next several layers of projects at the college. Dr. Ulrich starts July 1, and so he's really excited about coming out and learning the ropes, and we're all here to try to give him as much insight as he can, and then let him, with us and with the board, decide what the vision of the college is going forward. So I'm excited about it.
Well, I just want to say as we close here that I'm not trying to be mean-spirited toward transgender people. I just think that we have to recognize reality. And the reality is transgender people have every right to be transgender. However, they don't have a right to compete in girls' sports when there's obviously a body mass and bone structure in place that makes it fundamentally unfair to the young girl. And
sure. Well, I think it'll be interesting to see how the debate unfolds this summer and fall, and then maybe have them on a group on the radio, two people from each side, and have a good, honest discussion.
I'd welcome that if anybody wants to take pro and con side. I'll be the moderator, or if they can handle it themselves, I'll just run the board. I'll push the buttons.
Man.
All right.
Well, good luck with that.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Jim Kirsten's better. All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and thanks to Jim Kirsten as always for being on our program. And certainly the Kev Dog. It's always fun to have Kev on, or me over at his podcast or whatever. It's 4:00 in the afternoon. The news is next. And we'll continue having a good time here at KBFD.
Hi, this is Gary Rima, the voice of the University of Northern Iowa Panthers.